I'm Zora. I'm Zora of the Bullshit Free Zone. I'm here, joined here with Jason. Last week in episode 3, we really kind of focused on verification and what it actually means and why it gets shut down the moment that the voting actually counts. So we do a lot of certification without verification, and the system is rigged that way.
Yep.
It's rigged that way so they can just go ahead and put in the person that they want to be put in, and it has nothing to do with we the people. On episode 2, we actually talked a little bit about paper ballots as the baseline. And from there, we did build upon it by asking what happens after the ballots are cast. I do know that Jason is planning on inviting someone who he knows to really kind of go through the ballots, who is interested in speaking to you in regards to how voting actually works. So that
It's
most
shocking too. It's like, what?
Yes, I believe it. At this point, nothing surprises me. I'm past being surprised. I'm just like, I'm not even overwhelmed by the chaos anymore because I'm
Nope.
recognizing the chaos as coordination.
Right.
So once we're able to recognize what it is, we're actually able to zero in, and begin to focus on things like what's going on right now with Jack Smith, testifying lie. So we can actually get at the information that we actually need in order, maybe in the future. Just want to explain to everybody, this is an uphill battle. Protests and things like that. If you're expecting immediate results from general strikes, protests, etc., it's not going to be solved in the very next day. This is going to be an uphill battle. This may take 5 years. This may go on for many years because there are still people that don't believe that our government is out there to harm us and to take advantage of us and to loot from us. We are responsible for paying our taxes, but the billionaires don't have to pay jack shit. That's a problem. So,
Big problem.
so I'm basically really want to put it out there. If you're expecting immediate results, it isn't going to happen. It is going to be a fight, and it's going to be a long battle. So I am not getting discouraged at the protest. I am seeing more and more people coming out to the protests, and I'm seeing people of different demographics. I'm an X generation, and originally what I was seeing was a bunch of baby boomers and X generations at the protests. Recently on the walkout, I saw many Z gens. I saw many millennials. I was really proud to see more youth out there protesting. Um, Against this regime. I'm also seeing more unions out there. All this is positive. All this will get us to the end goal, but it will take time. Okay, now that I went off on a tangent there, let me jump back in. Yesterday, I'm not sure if you're aware, but the court with the Epstein files, Congress did pass a law. Now, the Epstein files were supposed to be all released in December, and they were not. And by that, by not releasing them all in December, the DOJ actually was not abiding by the law. So, but Congress had no enforcement avenues to go about it. So what Congress did in early January was pass the law and then took it to the court and said, listen, we need a special prosecutor, a special masters in order to get the Epstein files released, because less than 1% of the Epstein files have been released. And so what the judge just did yesterday, what do you think the judge did yesterday?
Uh, I guess it's two sides of the same coin. It depends on how you look at it. Um, because Maxwell's involved, there are certain files that cannot be released because she's still in. She
Well, let
still
me
has.
just stop you right there. Let me tell you what happened. What happened was the judge ruled that although the law that Congress passed was good, although, yes, the DOJ did not release all the files, the judge told Congress they don't have jurisdiction. Does that sound familiar?
That's a little funky.
They
I haven't
don't
read it
have
yet.
they don't have jurisdiction. Just came
It's a
out
law.
yesterday.
It's a
They don't have jurisdiction. That's what the judge told them. So what the judge essentially did was pass it back to the victims.
huh.
Yeah. Does
But
that sound
the victims want it out there. So it's just a
Oh, you really
it's a fucking game.
that's right. This goes back into rigged by design. What happened with the Rockland case in New York? What was smart
Yeah.
legislative smart elections told?
Oh, because they weren't originally part of the case. It was a
They
technicality.
lacked jurisdiction.
Yep.
Exact same words, you know, same mechanism.
That'll kind of
This,
lead us into
that's right.
Michigan with the way the Michigan law is written in, and the same goes for Pennsylvania. They have to hold the ballots for 22 months, but you can only challenge up to what, 4 days, I think, or something after certification.
In
So
Michigan,
I started asking myself, why do you hold the ballots for 22 months then if we can only, if a candidate or, a citizen, maybe depending on certain laws, can't challenge it? That doesn't make any sense to me at all.
because it's designed that way. And I
Well,
know
yeah, I
that's
mean, we know that, but
it's designed that way. In Michigan, yes, we do have the law, the federal law, that we must preserve the ballots for 22 months. But in Michigan, the certification deadlines, it is basically the certification deadline standings and rules prevent verification almost immediately. In Michigan, it's actually 48 hours. So last week, you were asking, well, why don't we focus on Michigan, and what's going on here? Because
yep,
there's a lot of crap going on. And Elections Truth Alliance came out with yet another study, basically showing the down votes. And in regards to that, when you're looking at it that way, it's like all these irregularities exist. But the reality is nobody has the right to protest the election results because certification has shut it down.
it's ridiculous. And I uh I made a video yesterday because I read an article, and not everybody catches everything that he says. And something was caught when he made that speech at Davos about convictions or arrests are coming real soon, going back to 2020. And in that video, it's a little bit longer one. I think it was over 3 minutes. I'm still imploring to people over there on the Clock app to, you know, keep an open mind about this. We have a president that is squatting in the White House, I like to say, who is talking about arresting what? A governor, a secretary of state, a former governor, a former secretary of state for a 2020 from the 2020 election, saying that whatever, they stole it, they rigged it, whatever he wanted to say. And the statute of limitations I looked up on any election fraud is 5 years. We're past that, but they're still going to arrest people. So what is it going to take when we are still within this timeline, and we may be out of it in Michigan, but there are other states that we're not. And all it's going to take, and I think that's what they're afraid of. You have these more centrist Democrats like Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, and I'll bet you would get the same thing from Gretchen Whitmer because she's more of a centrist, maybe a little farther left than a centrist, but nevertheless,
Well, I
um,
have my
that
opinion about Shapiro, but it's just an opinion. I
if
think
they
he's
open one precinct, and the ETA is correct, and the numbers don't match, and they're way off, even close to what the ETA is saying, that's gonna, you know, I think their fear is it'll discourage people from voting, and I say quite the opposite. I say if that will if that were to happen, hypothetically speaking, they open a precinct, the one that they're trying to sue in Pennsylvania, they find out they're accurate, that, it's a precinct Trump won, but Harris really won, uh, and the numbers don't match. I think it's going to force them to say, yep, we need to hand count. Not that you can't still use the machines. You can use the machines, but you can use the machines to separate them. Trump, Biden, or whatever. You know what I mean? Rather than count them.
yeah, I'm going to reject that framing. And the reason why is you have to look at who owns the machines. What companies own the machines?
Yeah.
How much money that they're
No, I'm
making?
I'm I'm talking about a completely different one. A
Okay.
machine that'll take your ballot. Um it'll read it, and what it'll do is it'll read, especially for a presidential election. It'll read whoever picked the Democrat, Republican, or the other candidates, and it'll separate them basically into piles. And then that
Yeah,
person will count them and verify each single one of them.
that's fine and dandy. And what I'm saying is that there's so much money involved in these machines in each one of the states that so much money are passing into people's hands
Yep.
that they're going to do
All of them.
everything. Yeah, they're going to do everything within their power to stop these hand votes, putting it back into the people's hands.
Because they'll lose.
They'll lose.
Lose.
They'll lose, and they'll also lose a whole bunch of money.
Good.
The greedy bastards. Yeah,
I'm not against that.
I would say good too, but this is where I'm going back to. This is going to be a uphill battle. We have to get rid of the machines. I mean, I don't know what I'm advocating here for, but the machines have to go. And when you're putting that as part of the picture here, um, I just think that the oligarchy, the fascist regime that we have in place now, will do everything within its power to stop it. And so, with it being a trifecta, I think this whole Pennsylvania vote, and I'm scared this is what's going to happen. They're going to do the same thing that they did in Rockland County.
I don't know. I read part of it, and they got their ducks in a row in that lawsuit. They do. I don't. Even if they do, and if they have to, appeal it or whatever, they even basically, without reading it, I've always said that, before I read that, part of that lawsuit, I've always said that they always use the excuse of corroborating evidence. We don't have it. And I've talked about it before, like with the Tennessee special election that happened. They told her, well, there's no corroborating evidence to go with it. Well, they know damn well the only way to get that evidence would be to open the boxes.
Yeah. And what reasons would they have not to open the boxes?
Oh, it's already been certified. That'll be there. It's already been certified. Well, so we don't, and that's what I tell people. Don't you want to be sure? Will it change anything? No. The only thing it'll change is we can finally say he's an illegitimate president.
Well, I've been saying
But I
that from the
want to know.
beginning. I've been
I want to
saying
know.
that from the beginning. I want to know if my votes are counting. I doubt that my vote is counting. My vote definitely here doesn't count in California, especially in a presidential election.
Do you vote in person or by mail?
I vote um, during COVID. I voted by mail. Um, and I know every vote of mine's counted during COVID by mail. Um, During the last election, I voted in person.
And that's what I'm worried about is in person because those are the ones that they go after. When you vote
Uh,
by mail, those mail-in ballots are counted very differently.
okay, let's
And
now
that's
let's
why
that's
you
a
lost
great
that
lead
one.
in. That's a great lead in into California. California is no longer immune. Are you familiar that the USPS no longer has to postmark the mail
Yep.
on the date that they receive it? They postmark it the date that they process it. So, what that does with the election ballots is that you can put it in on the election day. And here in California, I believe they have up to 10 days to count it as long as it has the postmark of the election day. They no longer have to do that. So they are targeting the mail-in ballots right now.
Oh yeah.
So this,
Because they know that's how they'll lose.
right.
And
S- So
you
the,
get so angry about this stuff, and it's like, and I'm sure there are. I know I'm not alone in this, and I've talked to other people about it. It's like you just. I mean, for me, I'm a very patient person. I'm a very, oh, I can take it all in. But as of lately, I can see the temperature. I can feel people in public. I can see the fear, the anger, the frustration on people's faces when I go in public. Where I live in Michigan, and it's like I'm just inside. I'm ready to, I'm ready to explode. I'm just. It's so frustrating because you have the majority of Congress who are established, not elected, established. And you have a very few number of them, maybe a handful of them, that are elected, that are there for the people, that want to do the right thing, and those are the ones that get attacked the most, like AOC, uh, another guy down in Florida, I think Maxwell Frost might be his name. These are members that don't trade stock. They still live off their congressional salaries. They don't have millions, tens of millions of dollars in net worth. These are people that want to make a difference and do something. And it's just so. And I am encouraged though because there are so many people across the country running for office and like in their state house and Senate and stuff. But that doesn't help the country; it helps their state. And there are a few that have decided to say, you know what, I'm going straight for the top. I'm going for a congressional run, and these are as it should be. Somebody, average American living in a district that wants to represent their district. A
absolutely.
progressive person that wants to move forward. And at the end of this, before we go, I want to talk about something that I believe it is a big pivot, something that just happened later.
Okay.
But we'll talk about that later.
Okay. All right. As we're getting towards the end. Chatter X, I noticed that you put in some links. Unfortunately, when we actually go offline, we will not be able to see those links. So if you're interested in forwarding those links to either myself or Jason, why don't you go ahead and do that? And then maybe we can discuss some of the things that you have in those links on our next episode. Okay. Chatter X, do you hear me? Are
Yeah,
you on
it's,
that?
it's about borrowing money against those assets. Luxury. I mean, yeah, I get what he's saying. Yeah, I'm looking at some of the comments he wrote. Um, yeah, the rich people, they don't use their own money. They find a way, just like they find a way to use other money so they don't have to pay taxes. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
Well,
get what he's saying. And there was another letter written by a bunch of millionaires and billionaires that they wrote to Congress. They all signed it. This just happened recently in the last few days. Again, demanding that they be taxed more.
Decorum. Oh, it's all performance.
Well,
It's
no,
all
not
performance.
by this group. But this group of millionaires and billionaires, they do it all the time. They say, "Look, we're fine. We get that. Why am I paying less in taxes than people that work for me? Why is the percent of so they're like, we need to pay
Very,
more taxes."
I think maybe 3 or 4 of them out of, what is it? 650 of them? Yeah. I know Warren Buffett was one of those. He actually brought
Yep.
this Warren Buffett brought it back up in 2016. It was in 2016 in which he was comparing how much he paid in taxes versus his secretary.
Mhm. And these people, I mean, even just a few that are watching, you guys are going to start hurting. You're going to because they did this big beautiful bureaucratic bullshit of a blunder bill that they signed is almost a mirror image of the 2017 tax hike bill, and that's what it was. They pretend this image, and they're going to give you a small tax cut. You will get a one-time small tax cut this year. For next year, you'll get that tax cut. And then after that, your taxes are going to go up, but the taxes for the rich and the ultra rich, those cuts are permanent, just like in 2017. In 2017, they gave everybody a tax cut. Oh, yay, everybody got a tax cut. But starting in 2021 on that 10-year tax plan, people like me and you, our tax obligations started going up. And it went up every other year from there, 21, 23, 25. So now they're just doing the same bullshit again and giving them a bigger tax break. And it was a few years after that where for the first time in American history, I think, or modern history, the top 400 richest families in this country paid less in taxes than the rest of Americans.
Yeah.
So the tax obligation has been the majority of it has been put on the average working class American.
And they're looting our money on top of that.
Yep.
There's still a half $500 billion missing. Nobody can find it. Where is
Nope.
it? So, on top of that, they're still looting our money. And then we are the ones that will get the notices. Oh, your taxes are late. Oh, we think you may know. No, we're the ones that are getting audited. I just received a
Yeah.
notice. Oh, we're still looking into your 2000 and like for what?
What I've learned is every time it introduces something, I don't know what that was. Every time a Republican introduces something, like here in Michigan, they want to introduce a bill to, um, if you're a household that doesn't have any children, you shouldn't have to pay property taxes. But what they're saying, and the fine print is, if you're a house, your kids are gone, you're empty nester, you shouldn't have to pay the portion of your property taxes that go to school,
Yeah.
which is a very small portion.
It's crazy. It's crazy how it's set up. Yes, Dana, they're only representing the billionaires and not us.
Yep.
Yes, they only represent the donors, not us. And
And that's
this is
yourself. Why do they not just because they're billionaires? It's uh best example I can give is that movie Don't Look Up, right? When
okay.
Leo um he's up there and he's on there and he's like, they're all fucking lying to you. And we're all gonna die, in the movie because there's an asteroid coming and nobody believes it. Why do they do that? They don't need it. Why do they do that?
Because they can.
Exactly. It's power.
Yeah. Power protects power. Will continue to say this. Power protects power. And there's something most people are, I would say, choose not to see.
Yep.
Because once you see it, it can't be unseen.
Nope. And just because there are people that are like, I'm not doing politics. I don't pay attention to that shit. And I'm like, just because you don't pay attention to it doesn't mean
Doesn't
it's not going to affect you.
right.
Right.
I do a whole, it's more a self-reflection piece, but it intertwines politics with the individual. So politics originally is supposed to be out there in what you would describe as the macro system, you know.
Yeah.
And so, yes, some of the things, but in my self-reflection pieces, I talk about how the macro is actually part of our micro now.
I'll have to look at
It's
those.
yes, it's
Yeah.
part of
I
our
just been like most of you out there. I've been this last week or so, even since we had our live last week. I've just been so inside. I can compartmentalize everything pretty good, and I've just been so stressed out. I've been so goddamn angry. I'm like, I feel helpless, and I've lived long enough that I understand people are going to do what they're going to do. Nobody's going to do much right now because of the weather. I mean, we're here in Michigan. I'm sure you're up there in California, but we're down Arctic air. We're getting dumped on a foot of snow every night. We got a fucking pedophile that's in the White House. We got a pony show going on right now in Congress. And it's just, and I did a video, I think it was yesterday, and at the end, I'm just like, I just don't understand how there is anybody left in this country that can't fucking see through him like a clean glass window. I do not comprehend that. I do not understand that. It is absolutely frustrating to me that how not only are you still simping for a billionaire that doesn't give a shit about you, and you know what I think people should do? I think people should all we should mail a bunch of the one, mail them a bunch of fucking tent spikes to the White House. That's what I think we should do. If you know, you know.
yeah, well, that brings up a whole 'nother subject for
Yeah,
me, because I do know
I'm
that
petty.
people you're that petty bitch, as we would say.
Yeah.
I can be petty too, but, I just kind of feel as though, it isn't that they choose not to see he's just the personality, and I'm not looking at the man himself as egregious. Hi, Frodo. Yes, he's a pretty
Yep.
egregious man, isn't he?
Yep.
So, as egregious as he may be, I'm looking at the system that's backing him. That who's putting him? He is just a puppet, you know? He's not reading any of the EOs he's actually signing.
No,
I actually wish there was an infiltrator in there in the White House that would put a EO in front of him that would
an
take
adult
away
room.
yeah, and have him sign it. That's what I'm hoping for. Somebody.
See, I agree with that, but I also disagree with that at the same time because Trump is, and I've said this 1,000 times, Trump is easy to manipulate and hard to control. You cannot control him. And in that interview he did where the only thing that can stop him, he said, is his own morality or some shit. And that just kind of proved what I've said, right? That he's easy to manipulate and hard to control. Trump is going to do what Trump wants. And he doesn't give a shit what the rest of it says. If he says, and that's the mob boss mentality. I'm going to put out an executive order. This is what I want. They can put whatever else they want in it. And he does that, that's the manipulate part. Okay. Yep. Here, they'll go to him and they'll be like, here you go. Here's what you said. Here's what we're going to do. And he's going to be like, okay, boom.
But they'll just change he may be hard to control, but this is what the system will do. They'll just change the narrative.
Oh, yeah.
They'll
JD
flood
Vance is the opposite. JD Vance is hard to manipulate and easy to control because
well,
he's a fascist with an education. He's a fascist that knows how to talk properly and speak proper sentences. So that's what I'm more scared of.
I was just discussing this with my husband. I too am more scared of JD Vance. I said he has two brain cells to rub together, is the way I described him. And I said, but I do agree with the framing of that he is easier to control, and he's easier to control with money.
Yep.
Um, Peter Thiel gave him a whole bunch of money and pretty much supported his campaign.
He was a
Uh,
puppet.
he is a puppet, but they're both puppets, in my opinion. Just being controlled, the mechanisms of how they're controlling them is a little bit different, though. So one versus the other, I'm really not sure. Do we go with the monster that we already know, or do we go with the new monster? And both of them have fascist ideologies, and so both of them like the power. And we also know that J.D. Vance, who was once, I believe, a Democrat, switched over to a Republican. So we don't. I don't.
Yeah, so did what's his name? I always like to fuck with about him. Kennedy, right? John Kennedy or
Mhm.
whatever down in Louisiana. He was a Democrat, but when he switched to become a Republican, he got that
Before or
big
after the
southern
brainworm?
that Louisiana accent. And that's what he did. I'm now Republican. I'm a Republican from Louisiana. My grandfather, Mr. James P. Kelly, was born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana on June the 30th, 1914. True story.
Yeah, I agree, Dina, that Steve Miller is really in control. And we don't really
Yeah,
discuss a lot about Steve Miller. Maybe we should add Steve Miller into our conversation next week because
yeah.
I do agree with that. I do agree Trump is a puppet. I will always say that. I know some people believe not only is he a puppet of Steve Miller, but he's a puppet of Putin. Okay, okay, Frodo.
I think um, when it comes to like what's happening in Rockland County, what's happening with ETA in Pennsylvania. Um, I mean, hopefully soon we will hear something on that. And um, like I said earlier in this live, that I think if and let's cross our fingers that that is able to happen, and and in their arguments, they're like, I don't see what the big deal is. We filed this properly. We're not saying we need to open every precinct in the country. We just want to see here to compare our data. And like I said last week, when there was senators, both Republicans and Democrats on the House floor, when they all sat up there calling the president of Venezuela an illegitimate president, they've all seen the data. They know it. He cheated by fraud and force. He's not the real president. He's illegitimate president. And when they applied those same methods here, these same representatives,
Um,
crickets, right? You
yeah,
don't hear shit. You don't hear shit from them. But um, I'm really hopeful that um, a judge will say, yeah, here's the data. This don't look right. Here's here's the history of voting. This is what a normal pattern looks like. And they get their ducks in a row and they do it and they open them boxes and it shows it. But until that process happens, what's going to happen is we are now, in January, late January. My birthday's next month, by the way. Um, on
February
Valentine's Day.
birthday. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, my birthday's on Valentine's Day. And this is the time of year where I start getting excited for spring. But this year I am actually fearful of it because you notice how the Greenland thing changed, right? Nah, maybe I won't use force. Maybe I won't. Uh, but once warmer weather gets here, Trump is as readable as a fucking kid's pop-up book. He's going to ramp everything up, not just in Minnesota. Now he's going to go to Philadelphia. I mean, Philadelphia, where they riot
Oh,
when they
yeah.
win
They
football
got
games.
they got Black Panthers marching the
Yep.
street in Philly now. So
Uh, it's going to be it's going to be bad, and I predict, and
there's a
you can
reason why he
hold this
wants.
to me. I predict by the end of July, there are going to be large swaths of this country that are going to be in a, we're going to be literally at war with the federal government, literally by the end of July. That's what that's just what I've said it. There's only one way this ends. Republicans, even if we do find out, and I still want to keep pushing, I still want to do this because we need to find out. Republicans are never going to willingly hand that baton of power back over.
They're not going to hand over the midterms of 2026,
No.
and they're doing everything within SCOTUS right now to stop that from happening. Um, right now, I'm also SCOTUS didn't do a ruling about who can challenge voting. And basically, it
Yeah,
can
elaborate.
right, and basically, you don't need to have fraud or any sort of substantial or evidence in regards to fraud taking place, that it will be able to turn elections into legal battlefields after the fact.
And we can do that. So if I wanted to do that, I could. Is that they didn't rule on it?
Yeah, they didn't change voting, it changed who can challenge it. And so anybody can challenge it after the fact. But here's the deal, that doesn't benefit us. They can be challenged even if it was fair and free. We both know it's not fair and free. They're not going to allow the people to really challenge it. What they're saying is candidates like GOP candidates. Let's take this last election that took place in Tennessee.
Yeah.
We found out there's substantial evidence that I can't recall her name, but that she actually won.
Afton Bain.
Correct. That she actually won. And so with that being said, she refused to challenge it, things like that. But in this particular case, they're saying, well, she can challenge it. But what's going to happen is they're going to use that, especially in California and Michigan, in the
Yep.
places that are traditionally voting blue, to challenge those results. I mean, Trump is still challenging the results in Michigan.
Yeah, but if that I don't know if they thought that through.
Well,
I
I thought
really don't, because if that does, I mean, the midterms is one thing, and people are like, well, how would they do it in the midterms? Well, there's a pretty good swath of idea of, okay, this district's going to stay red, this one's going to stay blue, right? Here's the ones that are close that we need to focus on, and whatever, however they're doing it. Let's just say hypothetically, it's with a piece of code, right? By the time it reaches a tabulation machine, and then goes from the tabulation machine to the county to the state, and then to the vendors that report, and they can target individual candidates, right? And they
right.
can do that. But if that's the case, that leaves it open for, okay, we're going to challenge it. We want a hand recount. That's just stupid. I guess I'm viewing it a little differently because that's just stupid.
Nope, but
Because
they're
if
not
they're
going to.
trying to beat the system by doing what they're doing, and I mean, I guess I viewed the order a little differently. And if they're
They're challenging it gives them let's bring it back to USPS. Let's bring it back to what's taking place there
Mhm.
and the postmarks. It gives them the opportunity to actually challenge the mail-in voting. This is what the GOP is pushing for. They're actually pushing for the dismantling the mail-in voting. So with that being said, you keep going in and out. So guess
Yeah,
having some connection problems. With that being said, this would actually give them an opportunity to challenge a lot of the mail-in voting without any evidence. Without any evidence.
Hmm.
And that's the part that's a little bit scary,
Yeah.
you know? I'm at the point that
Well,
maybe
they only have what? Well, no, because if they, well, there would be time, you would think, because it's going to be. Um, that's something I've got. I've
this
got. I
You
gotta,
you can look into it a little bit more, but it is truly for the benefit to maintain the current power structure.
yeah.
That's really what it comes down to maintain the current power structure for 2026.
Hmm.
And so these are the
Districts
things.
here, our districts here in Michigan were redrawn in 2022.
Mhm,
Um, they had an independent agency, redraw the districts more fairly. And as a result, Democrats won the House in the state and the state Senate for the first time in 40 years.
right.
And I've done videos in the past about, looking at the difference between like the districts, how they're drawn now as well before. And I mean, before they looked like a jigsaw puzzle piece and they were strategically drawn to make sure Republicans won. But now most of the districts, like if you go to the UP, almost half of the UP is one district. And that's a lot of landmass. I think it's, I don't remember what district, District 2 or something like that, way up there. Um, but now they're more, centered around population in the counties. They don't look like these little, around big square circles down. Oh, we got to have that corner of Allegan County and this corner of Ottawa County, along with Kent County. No, fuck Ottawa County, by the way.
Yeah, yeah,
You
well,
know,
how about
it's
Wayne
crazy.
County too? Wayne County is the one where they found all the.
Yep, but not the city of Detroit. Not the
No,
city of
don't do that
Detroit.
because they're gonna be classically gonna vote 80%, blue, so
I
they're not
don't
gonna.
know why they couldn't file. You know, just made me think like, okay, those if you like they took that the city of Detroit here and then all the surrounding areas of Wayne County and the difference in data is astonishing. Why would they have to take that? The states may run elections under the Constitution, right?
Right,
Why couldn't they take that to a federal court to oversee it? Good question.
but it's the responsibility of the state, and
Sure,
do we actually want the federal court to oversee it?
but yeah, sure, but then I mean, I guess you could say, you know, the state would have its own bias and not want to admit. I guess that would be my argument to file it if I were to file it to say, okay, here's Wayne County, here's what we found. We want to file it in a federal court because the state will have its own bias and will never want to admit that they screwed up.
But the federal court is gonna have its own bias, and the federal
Maybe,
court is gonna push it right back to the state court.
maybe. I'm just thinking
That's
outside the box.
yeah, it will push it right back to the state court.
Hmm.
So, that is the thing, and I would say Wayne County was actually a stress test for 2026.
Yeah, yeah. They're not going to
Did
mess with the city of Detroit because they already know we're
no,
there.
no, but Wayne County is the stress test. Can they get away with it?
And people have to remember, viewers have to remember, he doesn't have to win the precinct, right? And I said it and I called it when they did it. There's no better place to hide additional votes, if you will, than in strong blue areas like Wayne County. The city of Detroit, I think they knew better than to mess with that. But as far as the precincts around city of Detroit, I think it was a little differently. And it's not that Trump won Wayne County; it's that he got more votes than I guess expected. So he doesn't have to win the county to win the state. He just has to have more votes in the state to win the state. So rather than saying taking a red county like Ottawa County, and all of a sudden, they have a 95% turnout, and he's got
Mm,
all these votes.
right.
No, take those
That's
votes,
not gonna work.
yeah, and hide them in the blue counties.
Correct, it doesn't work that way. So, here, basically, the takeaway is that this is, not personal, but it's procedural.
Yep.
So, especially within Michigan. Now, when we put California in it, we can say California is not immune to it. Even though Michigan is a swing state, California isn't immune. It's just dressed differently. So what they're trying to do here in California is attack the mail-in votes.
I wonder if they'll do that here too.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
definitely USPS. You can pay attention to the mail-in votes because that affects everybody nationally. This new rule affects every state nationally.
Is the same guy still ahead of USPS?
The guy that Trump brought in, yes.
First time, the one that Biden should have got rid of but didn't.
Can't recall that. So I would have to.
Yeah, I
I
can't remember his name
I
right
thought it
now.
was a new guy. I thought it was a new guy, but I may be incorrect on that.
Trump appointed him the first time he was president. Biden kept him on, and you know there was a few things like I always said that I was disappointed about Biden's presidency. You know, Merrick Garland was a disappointment for me. I couldn't
Ye-
understand why he kept any Trump lapdogs on. I couldn't. I guess I just couldn't because
decorum.
you had
Decorum. This
yeah,
is a belief in a system.
and that's where the problem lies. Is
Right.
you have these established Democrats like Biden, right? Yeah, that still believe that there's honesty, decorum, integrity, and it's just politics. This isn't going to happen. That's not going to happen. This is a whole new game. This is a whole new. We're in a whole new world.
Yeah, we
Okay?
are.
This
Yeah,
is a new timeline, if you will.
yeah.
The time, the days of Michelle Obama, when they go low, we go high. Those are gone. Democrats need to get like, when they go low, kick them in the goddamn shin. Those days of going the high road, no, it's a propaganda game.
Oh, I love the whole thing. They get upset because we use fuck as the word, you know? They were
Yeah.
like, oh, they shouldn't be doing that. And guess what Trump does as he flips off?
Yep.
You
That
know,
was
it's
fun.
kind of,
And that dude's got like $1 billion now.
you know, so it's hypocritic. It's hypocrisy. It's basically, yeah, you guys can't do this. Well, I'm not part of you guys anymore. I'm not part of them anymore.
Yep.
Um,
But people should be asking, why did he do that? Why was he so offended by it if there's nothing to it? He did that because it got under his skin. Not just, yeah, we know he's a thin-skinned old man. That's what he is. He can't take anything. But
it's
it's
no
like,
sense of
why did
humor.
it really get under him? Because nothing hurts worse than the truth. When somebody calls
Absolutely.
you out to your face like that, you can just read a person. And that's what got to him. And he's like, he told him, fuck off or fuck you twice. And then, flipped him off with his tiny little finger.
Absolutely.
Like that. Yeah.
I
Yellow,
just
yellow.
you got Mellow Yellow and I got Frodo in the background.
Yeah.
So we're the
At
both they're
least he waited a little
they're
while.
they're probably feeding off our own energy.
Yep.
So I would just say to wrap this off, I would just say that this is actually where Michigan is the warning.
Yep.
And this is where California complicates the narrative at this point. Um, and so I just kind of saying that it's all part of the same system. It's all rigged,
It is.
and it's not.
But are you really worried about the electoral votes in California, or are you more worried about the seats?
I'm not worried about the seats anymore because California has used gerrymandering for its
Yeah.
benefit.
And then what did I just read today? I haven't read it yet, but I've seen a headline that a New York judge uh blocked the redistricting of did New York try to do it? Was it New York this morning?
I didn't see that one yet.
Yeah.
I didn't
So
see that one. But we and the Republicans did sue here in California, and they lost the lawsuit. Whether or not they'll try to appeal to bring it up further, most likely.
Yeah, they will.
But the reality is they lacked evidence. Basically said, "Oh no, it was discriminatory for Hispanic people," and it was not.
No,
so, so they tried to come up with something, and it was not there. It was demonstrated not. So right now, as long as we are able to gerrymander our way out of this, we need to
right?
use the same thing.
And people got to remember, it's like, and that's the part I'm talking about. Like, when they go low, kick them in the shin. You
Right.
know, Texas started the shit, and you want
That's
to play,
right.
well, I know you are, but what am I? Yep, let's play it because
Let's play it.
that's the only way we're going to win at this. That is the only way. They have never ever played fair. Never.
No, they changed the rules. I wrote about this in the it's either the first section or the second part of the real story it's the second part about how they changed the rules. Basically, they're making in basketball, as an analogy, a three-pointer. They're making a basketball analogy. A three-pointer now is 6 points for them and only 1 point for us.
Yes, that's a good way. That's a good way to put it. And
They're changing the rules midway through. And so we have to be able to adapt to changing the rules midway through.
and I know we're getting close, like up on an hour here. What I wanted to
Right.
talk about. Um, it's I think it's a key important issue that and this has happened on both sides, but mainly Republicans. Hey, Mellow Yellow,
Be
I hear
mellow.
you, dude. So does everybody else. It was reported that and my thing too is not to fearmonger people about what I think may happen around the end of July. I'm just I'm reading the temperature of the room. I'm reading the temperature of what's going on out there, right? And I'm not saying it's going to be everywhere, but it's going to be a lot of places. That's just the way I feel. But with the UK has now approved a um in London, what the hell you call those places? God, I can't think right now.
Take your
What
time.
what do we have it like when we're over there? What is that? Embassy, embassy. The yeah, for China, a very
Okay.
large one, okay, and that is very important because um our government does a good job of scaring us about China, right? Um, they use the words Communist Chinese Party when it suits them and when they want to talk bad about China. But when it fits what they want financially, they're just China. And word choice from government officials is everything. The choice of words they use. When China, there are Americans living in China. There are Americans living in Japan, and these countries are so far ahead of us right now. So while we're dealing with this guy in the White House, you have countries like China and Japan who are living in like it's 2185, 2200. You know, technologically, they are kicking our ass.
They are.
They are destroying us. And having the UK approve a Chinese embassy is it's nuts.
Well, do you
It is
know how
absolutely nuts.
do you know that China owns several US bonds,
Mhm.
you know?
Yep.
And to go against China would be devastating for us.
Their military size doubles ours.
Yeah.
And
So,
they say, well, we know what they got. And no,
no,
here's
we
what I
don't.
say to people. We know what we know what they have based on what our spies know what they have. We don't know everything they have. And I will never take anything away from the men and women that serve in our military. The problem I have with the government is they've been telling us our entire lives that we have the greatest, most powerful military on the planet. Trust me, bro, we do. Nobody's going to mess with the US, right?
But the
That's just because
illusion
they
is
told
gone.
us.
The illusion is
Why
gone.
were we in Afghanistan for 20 years?
Yeah,
Money.
it's
That's why.
always.
It's always about money.
It's
And now there's
always.
evidence coming out that Epstein, there's a CIA informant that worked for the CIA. He was a top guy at the CIA, and he believes, and he was actually under investigation, that Epstein was a spy for Israel.
Yeah, I've already
Holy
read
shit!
that.
Holy, it's like these other countries doing this, and here we are. You have Israel, who
As
we get
well as
billions of
Russia,
dollars to.
as well as Russia. I've also heard he was a
Yeah,
spy for Russia too.
yeah, and they just signed another 3.3 billion to Israel on top of the 4+ billion they get annually, and call it aid, while their citizens have free healthcare, free
That
college.
that's
And
just a whole nother topic. That's a whole
it's like,
nother topic.
yeah,
That's a whole nother topic, and it's something
well,
that we
I mean,
should dive.
these are the people we vote for that
Yeah,
do that. There's
and
85 Democrats that people voted for, expecting certain things, and then they go and they vote for this. And
because
and
that's
it's not
APAC
gonna
money.
change until people like me, and I'm talking to myself too, though, until people like me stand up and say, "You know what? I've had enough. I am gonna fucking run for office. I will not be silent. I decorum, fuck your decorum. I'm gonna say what I want, how I want, when I wanna say it. That's all there is to it." I mean, I wouldn't have a debate with somebody and be like, "Oh, you're a fucking idiot." I'm not gonna do that.
I don't know.
But,
That may be
and
accepted in today's time at this point.
it's supposed to be the power of the people are greater than the people in power. And it's starting, it, it has become that the people in power are manipulating the rest of us into believing that the power of the people is greater than the people in power.
Correct. I
I,
think
I
you
just,
hit the nail. Hit the nail on the head. I go into these protests, and the protests basically say, "We are the power. People are the power," and I think to myself, We're not the power." And I'm thinking this to myself. And they continue to say this. If we were truly powerful, this shit wouldn't be going on right now. So I'm having a hard time even chanting that. It's like, oh,
yeah.
let's chant something that's not true, in my opinion. It's not present, in my opinion.
What do you think the White House would do with 250,000 people surrounding it that are fed up? I mean, what do you think? What are they going to do? Shoot us all?
Well,
I'm just,
it's going to be devastating. I'm going to tell
yeah,
you that. It's going to be
it's going to get
devastating.
ugly.
Yeah.
It's going to get ugly.
And regardless of if they're peaceful or not, I'm still peaceful protesting. It will get ugly.
Oh yeah. Why do you think he's having a presidential bunker redone?
Yeah, I already know it's going to get ugly. Ugly. Bringing it right back. Oh my goodness, we're going to run out of time. But bringing it right back to Philadelphia. Why do you think he's going to Philadelphia? Who
Well,
has the Black Panthers? He wants to incite something.
yep. And these are
He
just
w-
tests, and people got to understand that. And
right.
you know, it still breaks my heart. What happened to Renee Good, and now there's another memorandum that come out that they're telling ICE, and I'd like the few viewers that are here to know that ICE does not have permission to enter your home. I
No,
don't
they
give a
don't.
fuck what the memorandum from ICE says. The Fourth Amendment of the Constitution strictly prohibits them from entering your home unless they have a signed warrant by a judge. And
And
the type of
make
warrant that they're
sure
saying,
it's by the judge on the piece of paper that they provide to you would actually have the U.S. court on the top of it in the middle, and on the bottom of it would have the actual judge's name. If you need to
not a
look
state,
at, right,
it has to be a signature.
correct. Correct. Absolutely. So if anybody ever approaches your door saying they're ICE, saying that they have a warrant, look look at it through your peephole or something along those lines.
Yep.
And make sure you're looking at the top. Make sure it's by a U.S. District Court. Make sure you're looking at the bottom. Make sure their signature is there. That's how you will tell the difference. just to let you know. Hopefully, they're not going to be printing out letters and calling it true. It's just like,
I wouldn't put it past them, though.
so that's
Yeah,
that would be the next thing. But we do need to wrap it up. We went over a little bit over an hour today. There are quite a few things that we do need to
good with that.
discuss next week, including what Jason has been watching, which is the live testimony of Jack Smith that is going on right now. If you're not looking at it, I believe it's on, which station is it on? I don't,
I watch it.
and
The best way is on the YouTube House Oversight Committee.
okay.
Just for search for like House Committee
I
on
do
YouTube.
also I do also know it's being played on NBC as well.
You know where it's not being played on?
Everywhere
Probably.
else?
Yeah. I don't assume that Fox News is carrying it. I don't know. I could be wrong, but
Yeah,
they
yeah.
tend to not do that.
So go ahead and check that out, and we'll probably be discussing a little bit of what Jack Smith has to say next week. Remember,
And I'm
this
going
is
to try
Rick.
to get a hold of my friend in the next couple weeks, maybe 2-3 weeks from now, and really, that one I hope we'll be able to get some more people. It'll be a big one. She's terrific on explaining, and she can do it in a way where people will be like, "Wow, really? I didn't know that."
And
Exactly how our elections work, how the process works from the time you walk in the door, cast your ballot, and then what happens to your ballot after. She's terrific at it, and I hope people will tune in for that one.
And for those ones, I believe when we're just having other people joining us, I believe that we're going to probably do those on a Tuesday. That way, on Thursdays, we'll be able to wrap up whatever they had to say along those
Okay,
lines.
you want to hit
Uh,
twice a week in a couple
yeah,
weeks?
yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever we have somebody joining us, I think we should do it on a separate day. That will
Okay.
give us opportunity to actually ask questions and things like that, so we don't go into the whole thing. So that's
And hopefully
how.
Mellow Yellow won't be putting his 2 cents every day.
Right, right. So
Yeah, yeah,
people
yeah.
joining us will be on Tuesdays. You and I having our usual conversation will be on Thursdays. Yes, we're told to trust the system, but we're just
Oh,
not. Yeah, we're told to trust the system, but we're just not allowed to examine it.
nope, nope.
Signing
Trust,
off.
trust me.
Signing off for
See you
Zora
guys.
and Jason. And remember to subscribe to us if you have not had an opportunity. I usually, with our end of the edits, I always provide receipts. Last week, I provided receipts for the DOJ enforcement. I provided receipts for Michigan and the drop off of votes. And I
Yep.
provided receipts for the bomb threats from the Brannan Center. So this week I will be going through my notes and seeing where I need to provide some more receipts, and I will hopefully we'll get that link and we'll send that out as well. Thank you everyone for joining us. See you again next week.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.